Howdy folks, welcome to Katie Phillips Scrapbook Designs. I'm Katie, and today we're going to start on the cover for an album that I am tentatively calling Vaporwave Dreams. So I've already got all the pieces cut. The cover pieces are cut to 6.5 inches wide by 6 3/4 inches tall. The spine is cut to 2.5 inches wide by 3 1/4 inches tall. We've got some interior, well, we're going to have some interior pieces. I'm going to cut those in a little bit, but these are just 8.5 by 11 65-pound cardstock. And I've cut some mats. And we're going to use some of the scraps and some of the cut aparts from the collection. So this mat, this is the, you know what? Let's just get started with wrapping the cover. If this is your first time joining me, welcome to my channel. I hope that you enjoy the video and that you hit that subscribe button. And if you've never done a mini album before, this was always the part that I found most intimidating, was putting the cover together. The second most intimidating was the binding. But this was the first thing that I found so intimidating. I was like, I can't do that. However, a few tutorials later, I did learn how to do it. And now it's actually one of my favorite parts, at least of the beginning process. So I think I'm gonna cut down some of that because we don't need all this. I'm gonna leave about 1 inch hanging on either side. And we're gonna go all the way around the chipboard here. This is medium weight chipboard, and I'll have links to the chipboard that I use in the description box down below, as well as all the other materials for this album. So we're just going around and getting a good crease all the way around the edge of the cover here. And this is going to be the inside of the album. Now we're going to trim away the corners. And we're going to leave a bit of a gap between where we cut and the chipboard. So we want about 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to cut to like right about here. And I want that gap between the cut and the chipboard so that when I fold it over, the chipboard is completely covered. We're going to do that on all 4 corners, and we're cutting out some of this cardstock to eliminate some of the bulk in the cover. Right, so the next step is going to be to go all the way across here with double-sided tape and adhere the top and the bottom down, and then we're going to come around the sides. All right, y'all, I can't believe I put the glue in the trash bin, but I must have been in the zone. So now we're gonna finish up these outer edges, and I'm gonna put some double-sided tape right up to the edge. And I'm actually also gonna go over the edges of these interior gaps here with double-sided tape, because I want to make sure we've got adhesive going right up to the very edge to help prevent bubbling or gapping in the cover once it's all done. Because if you don't get these edges secured down one way or another, when you go to close the book, the wrap is going to have little bubbles and gaps. I'm going to burnish all this down. And now we're going to come up to these corners here and make sure that they are, I'm just kind of going over and flattening where this piece is folding over onto this piece. I'm just kind of flattening that down so that we get a bit of a crisper corner on here. Right, so now we're ready to glue down the sides. Get rid of that. All right, I'm gonna set this aside for a sec and we're gonna cut the liner that's gonna go on the inside. All right, for the liner, we're gonna need a piece that is a total of 15 3/4 inches long by, and actually we're gonna go to 15 7/8 inches long by 6 5/8 inches tall. So I'm just gonna cut this sheet to 6 5/8. So now I've got a piece that is 11 inches by 6 5/8. And then, so we need 15 7/8. We've got 11 5/8, or 11 inches. So we need 4 7/8. And we're gonna go ahead and go another 3/8 to 5 1/4. That way we've got some overlap. I'm just going to double check that this is going to be enough. Yep, this is going to be long enough. So now we're going to cut this to 6 5/8. is finishing drying. We're gonna go ahead and mat. You know what, before we mat, there's something that I wanna do, because this is white core cardstock, and it's gonna look a little odd if there's like a white edge around the pattern paper. So I'm gonna find my black soot distress oxide, and I'm gonna ink around the edges. Now, the solid cardstock is solid core cardstock, so it's that color all the way through. So there won't be like this white, really faint edge going all the way around it. And I don't think any of the cardstock that I selected for this album has a white core. If it does, then I will be inking the edges. So this is the mat for the spine, and it is 2 1/4 inches by 6.5, I think. Yep, 6.5. And the second mat, the larger mat, is 2 3/8 by 6 5/8. This is the mat for the back, and it is 6 1/4 inches wide by 6.5 inches tall. And I used 2 different sheets from the collection to do this. You get 2 of each sheet in the collection, so I used both of the sheets that have this like neon frame that says Dreaming, because the idea was to kind of start at the front and work the way around to the back. So here's the front. And I will probably explain why I chose this collection in the first video in this playlist. However, that's gonna be the last video that I filmed, so I'm gonna talk about it now. Again, so y'all probably just heard it, but I apologize if it's a little repetitive. But so my daughter's boyfriend has he has an affinity for vaporwave art, which, if you don't know what vaporwave art is, you're not alone. I had to look it up. She told me he liked vaporwave art. I had to stop and go, what in the world is that? Then I went and looked at it, and I was like, oh, that's all the stuff that we liked in the 80s. So if you're getting some 80s vibes off of this, that's why. I'm just gonna go ahead and make sure that this is gonna fit on here. Well, it fits in that direction, but I come at the wrong direction. No, I didn't. I don't think I did. Double check these. Okay, no, we're good. Glue, 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 glue around the edges. But yeah, it's this art style that was, you know, really popular in the 80s. A lot of neon. Apparently it had a comeback like 10 years ago or so, and that's when he was exposed to it and liked it, so. When I saw it, I thought, oh, the only thing missing is roller skates. So anyway, they both have a birthday coming up. Their birthdays are very close together. Last year I made the Midnight Garden album for her birthday. So this year, they're getting an album in a style that's more his taste. And they've been together for a long time, so well, a long time for a 30-year-old. All right, we're gonna glue down this last piece and then start assembling the front of the album. And this album, I'm going to build by the seat of my pants. I do not have hardly any plans at all. I've got a plan for how big the base pages are gonna be, some ideas about, you know, what kind of flaps and pockets I can assemble from one piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, but other than that, I have no plans for the construction of this album. I just flipped through the collection and decided, yes, this looks pretty awesome, so, and no, I'm not interested in that piece for anything or whatever. Now, moment of truth, we will see if I've planned matting for the outer cover correctly and cut everything correctly. Fortunately, I think I've got a little more time for this album than I did for the wedding album, because I started on the wedding album shortly after I found out that my friend was engaged, and then lots of health stuff cropped up and I couldn't film, so I didn't work on the album. And then found out that she was going to be moving up to Massachusetts and had to get the album done, and I only had just a couple of days to wrap everything up, so it was a bit of a rush there at the end. Alright, let's see if I can kind of line that up. It's still going to be a little bit out of alignment, but hopefully they don't notice that. But also, since I'm designing this album by the seat of my pants, I don't feel pressure that if something doesn't work the way I want it to try to force it or anything. If that makes any sense. I'll tell you what, finding solid cardstock to even kind of go with this collection has been a challenge, because there's a lot of neon in here, and I've discovered I don't have a whole lot of neon cardstock in my stash. All right, all done there. Now we're going to get started on the inside. Moving on, I've recut a lot of these, the pattern papers. Change of plans. Instead of doing a pocket, we're going to do a tip-in on both sides using some of the scraps. So the measurements are pretty much going to be whatever measurements your scraps are. And I am re-inking the edges of all these. I'll measure these real quick just so you know what I'm working with here. But your scraps might be a different size. So that picture's already inked. As you can see, I reused one of the ones that I had a problem with. Trimmed it down about, what did I trim this down to? I trimmed these down to 6 1/4 by 6 1/2. So I've got 2 of those, and this is a scrap from making the wrap, and this is 5 by 6 5/8. And the mat, this one is 6 inches by 4 3/4. And then I grabbed a couple of extra scraps. I'm going to make belly bands and stuff like that with those. This is also going to be a tip-in. It is 5 3/4 by 6 3/4, and the mat for that is 5 1/2 by 6. So since these are tip-ins, obviously we're going to be scoring. And I did go ahead and grab a band. This is just a scrap that was left over, and it is 1 7/8 by 6 1/4. And we're going to double mat this. The first mat is 1 5/8 by 5, and this one is 1 3/8 by 4 3/4. And I need to ink the edges of this while I'm thinking about it. It's been a crazy couple of days. So if you hear construction going on outside, my husband tore down our old deck and is building a new one. And we live out in the country, and the water well went out, and that was an unexpected, well, all surprises are unexpected. That was an expensive surprise. All right, so let's go ahead and start assembling these. I think we're going to start with adding the tip-ins to the back of the mats. And then, yeah, I think we're going this direction on this tip-in. Yeah, we're gonna go that direction. And this tip-in, we're gonna also go that direction. So we're gonna score these at the 1/2 inch mark and then attach them to the back of the mat. right, change of plans. So I'm going to make a non-gusseted pocket or untabbed pocket for this side, and that is 4 3/4. So we're going to cut this strip down to 4 1/2. And that is 1 3/8. So we want this cut down to 1 5/8. And we're going to use this to decorate that pocket. You know what? I need to ink that again. Where I cut it. That's the edge that I cut. All right. And if you want to get really creative, you could turn this mat into a hidden pocket. That could be pretty fun. But because we're not doing that, I can use double-sided adhesive here, and I'm going to use glue around the edge of the solid cardstock, just on 3 sides. So I am completely going to freestyle that. All the pattern papers are just so dark that I think the black would have gotten lost. Going to lay this down on here, and then I'm going to come back with a trimmer and trim off the excess. And I can use my little mini trimmer for this. You know what? I want to fussy cut that out. I thought about putting it in the center, but I think I kind of like it off center a little bit better. For the other side, we're going to build a belly band and mount that on there. So let's and I'm actually going to score at 3/8 and how tall was this again? I ought to write that down, but you know, 5 3/4. So let's go ahead and fold it under. Oh wow, that is only going to give us we're going to score this at 1/4 of an inch. And 5 3/4. That's just going to be really, really tight as far as not having a whole lot of area to grip the base page with, but I think it can work. also going to do this because this scrap is not quite long enough, but it's going to be covered by this piece, so we can put a gap in the middle. And the whole idea here is to not have to cut into anything if we don't have to. But you know, I've got there's so much pattern paper in this pad. I wouldn't be as concerned about the pattern paper. I'm trying to avoid using a whole lot of cardstock. Because I don't expect to put a whole lot of weight on the front, we can use double-sided tape here. I have one more thing that I want to do. I don't know if I want to keep this whole square or if I want to die cut that circle out. You know what? I think I'm going to die cut the circle. We've got a lot of squares going on here. Let's die cut this circle. Happy that the die shifted on me while I was cutting it, but yeah, we can work with this. We're gonna pop this up on some chipboard. think that's going to do it for this video. We'll probably add more embellishments to the cover and throughout the album as time goes on, and as I have more scraps and I'm looking at it going, gee, what can I do with this? So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more videos, and hit that bell notification so that you get notified when new videos go live, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.